Not really. Hey Aunt Ruth, this is William. I wanted to give you a quick video on how I do the coffee setup with hopefully this brand new espresso maker that you have. I know it can get kind of confusing when you first start with this espresso maker as opposed to just a drip coffee maker. I wanted to kind of give you a quick rundown of how I do everything on here. So first off, I want to go over the actual hardware. So this right here is an espresso maker, and espresso is nothing fancy. It's really it's just coffee, like those coffee beans that are in there. Those are just regular coffee beans. You can buy whatever coffee beans that you want. And espresso is just water pressed through ground coffee beans at a certain pressure. That's all it means. So it's nothing fancy or anything like that. It just ends up extracting coffee a little bit differently than drip coffee does. It ends up being stronger and with more caffeine. So this little machine right here is pretty much the one of the smallest machines you can get that gets the appropriate temperature and the appropriate pressure. So it's really good. This right here is a burr grinder, and there are two types of grinders out there. There are burr grinders and blade grinders, and suffice to say, you can pretty much get any burr grinder, and it's just going to give you much better coffee. And the reason being is because the coffee grounds end up being a lot more consistent size, so you don't end up getting that same almost sour and really bitter flavor out of your coffee. This right here is a coffee tamper, and we'll get into this in just a little bit more, but you can use this however you like. I end up using 2 coffee cups, one right here just because it fits under there very nicely and I don't have to transfer containers, and then I end up using a separate one because I heat up my creamer. This machine does have a little coffee, not a coffee wand, a steam wand right here that you could froth milk with. A lot of people do that. I don't really do that. So I'm going to kind of show you a very quick and simple way to do it. So let's get started. Let me see if I can set this camera up so we can see this a little bit better. Alright, maybe, there we go, maybe not. Alright, okay, so this right here is called the portafilter, and it's got a little cup in here, and I think this actually may be called the filter, but there are 2 different sizes of filters. This is a double shot, and in this little machine they store both of them. You can see the difference. The double shot is just twice what the single shot is. I would just never use the single shot. Double shot is fine for what you're going to be doing. So it's basically a little filter, and it's got holes in there, and the general idea is that you put coffee in here, and then it sits in the machine and water is just pressed through it, and when it presses through it, it makes the espresso. So first thing we got to do is get the coffee in from the grinder into the filter. So I'm going to set these aside, and this is what I normally do. I throw my camera down. Actually, no. Okay, we're back set up. Okay, so I set this up just like here, and I grab the coffee, and I put it at about 4 cups right here. It's hard to say, and this is going to be different for every grinder, but the general idea is that you want to put enough coffee from here into here, and that's going to be based on the little dial that you have. Every one of these also has a dial for the grind size, and it's usually going to have some labels, but the labels aren't always correct, so you're really just going to have to experiment. And the way that you figure out how what dial to put this on is there's going to be a certain amount of time that it takes for the coffee to go through the machine, through the coffee into the cup. And if it takes too long, that means you need to change your size a little bit. So anyway, you can just kind of experiment with that. Mine I have pretty much on the espresso setting or just a little bit bigger than it. So I'm gonna go ahead and grind my coffee. It's gonna be loud. Okay, so we have the coffee ground. And all you do at this point is you get your coffee and you put it into the filter, and it doesn't really matter if it's exactly in there because you're going to kind of tamp it down anyway. So what I do is kind of mound it up in the very center. And then you take your tamp. This is your tamp right here. And the general idea is to tamp it down to where it's packed into something called a coffee puck. And you're supposed to put about 40 pounds of pressure on this. And literally the first way that I did it is I put a scale on the counter and I pressed it down to where I got 40, to where you could kind of feel that. So once you've done it a few times, it's really easy to do. So the idea is that you press and then you turn. And I do this twice. I kind of clean it off a little bit. You just press and turn. And that's it. So I'm going to pick this up and kind of show you what it looks like when it's tamped. So once it's tamped, it's going to be just a really smooth surface on there. And it is ready to go into the machine. So what I should have done is turn the machine on first. But I'm so excited about this video. Okay, so that's on. And it's sitting there waiting for us to start it. So the first thing that we should have done, and this is my normal routine, but you turn this on because it takes a minute or so for it to get to the right temperature and the right pressure. And then I also get my handy dandy coffee cup that fits under there. And this is what I like to do, is this. I put it under hot water to go ahead and get the coffee cup hot. Because if I don't, it ends up getting hot espresso into a cold cup, and then it cools off too fast. So this is already pretty hot, so I'm just gonna go ahead and let that sit there. And it's pretty much already ready. So you can see the green light is on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just slip that under there, and I'm gonna turn it on. And this is a manual process. So it'll take a few seconds, probably about 8 seconds for it to start, but you can see that starting to drip in there. Now that pack, when you are packing your coffee down, tamping your coffee down, if you tamp it too hard, then it's not going to come out very well. And if you don't tamp it hard enough, it's not going to form that puck, and then it's going to come out too fast and it's going to be too watery. So there's kind of a sweet spot to hit right there, but you can kind of, you can see it, it's kind of forming a froth, and that's called crema, and it's actually very flavorful, and it's some of the best part coffee that you can have. So while that's going on, normally what I'll do is I'll grab this coffee cup, and instead of, whew, that went fast, forgot about it. So instead of frothing milk and putting sugar all together, the creamer is pretty much exactly what I want anyway. So I just grab this and then I put it in the microwave for probably about 25 seconds, and then I put them both back together. So I want to show you this coffee now that it's come out of here. So that right there, you can see that it's kind of frothy on top, and that's the crema, and it's really, really good, especially when it's you put a little bit of sweetener with it. So that is just the espresso. That is a double shot of espresso. It's probably a long, it's called a long shot because I let it go a little bit longer. You can experiment with the strength of the espresso that you want. If you let it go a little bit shorter, it's called a short, and it's usually a little less bitter. If you go long, it's a little stronger and sometimes a little bit more bitter depending on your coffee size, your coffee grind size. So I have my creamer right here, and I'm just going to get a spoon, if I can find one, and I just mix a little creamer in here. Voila. You have a beautiful cup of coffee. Anyway, I hope that helps. Love you guys, and I hope you enjoy your espresso maker. Bye.